Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a mind summary episode of Out of the Encyclopedia of History. In this one, we will unearth the lives behind a couple of legends. Today, we're stepping into the wild, windswept world of three sisters whose pens defied the constraints of their time and whose stories still haunt us. Charlotte, Emily, and Anne Brontë. Born between 1816 and 1820. These sisters were not just writers, they were literary insurgents. In an era that dismissed women's voices, they wrote with fire, grief, and astonishing clarity. Their novels, Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, and The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, didn't just challenge Victorian norms, they shattered them. Raised in the remote village of Haworth, tucked into the Yorkshire countryside, the Brontë sisters grew up surrounded by silence, sorrow, and story. After losing their mother and two older sisters, they turned inward toward each other and toward the miniature books and fantasy worlds they created as children. Their bond was forged in grief, but it bloomed into genius. I am no bird, and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. Charlotte Brontë, Jane Eyre. To publish, they initially adopted male pseudonyms, Currer, Ellis, and Acton Bell, dodging the sexist gatekeeping of the literary world. But their voices were unmistakably their own, fierce, tender, and unflinching. Emily's Wuthering Heights was a tempest of passion and cruelty. Anne's Tenant of Wildfell Hall dared to confront alcoholism and marital abuse. Charlotte's Jane Eyre gave us one of literature's most defiant heroines. None of the sisters lived to see 40, and yet their legacy endures, not just in libraries, but in the hearts of readers who find themselves in their pages. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. Emily Brontë, Wuthering Heights. Did you know Charlotte wrote tiny books as a child? Some no bigger than a matchbox. Bound with string, they were filled with fantastical tales and microscopic handwriting. These weren't just playthings, they were blueprints for a literary revolution. But he who dares not grasp the thorn should never crave the rose. Anne Brontë. You see, the Brontë sisters didn't just write novels. They wrote themselves into history. Their stories are wild, aching, and alive. And like the moors they walked, they remain untamed and completely unforgotten. And I think it's something interesting that Charlotte wrote tiny books, truly micro books, as you can see in the image if you gravitate to the actual Substack post with this podcast episode. I created a graphic, an infographic about the sisters, and you can see one of the micro books and also the home that they grew up in. Anyway, returning back to my point here, when I was in 8th grade, I created my own poetry collection and I took foam board, which I cut down into a front and back book cover, and then I took ribbon and I hole punched holes in the side, and then I went and I bound it with the ribbon, and then I put all the poems with illustrations or whatever artwork I was using on the pages, and I turned that in. So the tying it with string together and things like that was very relatable to me. And the actual first book I made, quote unquote, was in kindergarten, called My Family. I drew the illustrations and wrote the story, and I used construction paper, colored construction paper, to make um, the front and back cover, and then a different color to make the pages. And I used a stapler to staple that together to make that book. So I found that very cute and relatable, and I thought that I would share that with you all. Um, Yeah, and so that is my little out of the Encyclopedia of History episode for you this evening. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your week and that you enjoyed my little tidbit here.